Welcome to actually, I don't know what episode this is going to be. Welcome to an episode of Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm continuing my review of the original Twilight Zone TV series. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page. And that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have questions or comments or topic suggestions or accounts of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Excuse me, happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you make it here for the live streams on Discord, or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds, or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of my show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, for having me on the network and putting my shows up there. If you'd like to support my show, there are different ways to do that. You can always share it with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can find books I've written over on Amazon. And those are paranormal fiction, nonfiction, including my most recent release, Salsido Paranormal Experiences. You can also sign up for the Patreon page, where you will get one extra episode of True Paranormal Stories from the Web every week, whenever possible. Or you can just make one-time donations through PayPal. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows, from equipment to research materials to travel expenses in some cases. And I believe that takes care of everything here, so we can get right to the review. Getting close to the end of season 1 of reviewing the rest of the first season of The Twilight Zone, the original series. So really amazing. I really enjoyed it overall, and so let's get to the next episode here, and that would be, once I get to my document here, let's see. So, let's see. If I can scroll, I can. Okay, very good. This one is episode 27 and of season 1 of The Twilight Zone, and this is about a boxer whose name is Bolie Jackson, Bolie, and he's in his apartment building when the show starts, and he spends time before what he hopes to be his comeback fight with a young neighbor friend. He's friends with the neighbor family, basically, a mother and her son, and the son, his name is Henry, is a big fan of Bolie's, of his boxing career, basically. And Henry says, as Bolie is getting ready to leave, that Henry is going to make the biggest, tallest wish for Bolie, for Jackson. I think I might just call him Jackson. That's a little more easier to remember. Who then leaves for the fight. So after the show goes from there to the arena and the locker room, and the manager, one of the managers there, sort of is just telling Jackson that he's done. He's washed up, and they get in an argument, and it almost comes to a fight right in the locker room. And Jackson accidentally punches the wall and injures his knuckles in this argument. And but he goes along with the fight anyway. So he gets to the fight, and he's knocked down by this other boxer in the ring, and he's laying on the mat and being counted down. Basically, either have until the count of 10 to get up, I believe it was. Shows how much I know about sports in general, which is not very much. And then suddenly he switches places somehow, as if through magic, with the other boxer who is now lying on the mat, and Jackson is standing over this other boxer who has been beaten up. And Jackson celebrates his victory. He's amazed that happened, though he doesn't understand what happened. And he remembers being knocked down, but everyone he talks to does not remember that. And he also doesn't remember getting back up to win. And also his knuckle, which he had injured in the locker room before the fight, feels fine. And so he tries to tell himself, well, he must have only slightly injured them. They must have just been bruised and not possibly broken. And so he gets back to his room, and the manager is surprised to see that Jackson has won. And so everyone is congratulating Jackson on this fight that he won, even though he has no memory of how he did it. So the only person that does know what happened, of course, is Henry, this little boy. And he says that he made the wish. And of course, Jackson doesn't believe in magic, in wishes. And so he can't accept that this is what happened. And Henry warns him that wishes only have power if people believe in them. And so Jackson, of course, tells Henry that there is no magic. And so Henry insists that you have to keep believing in this, because if you don't, then it won't work. And Jackson just can't do it, because his whole life he's been wanting that victory, that he was wanting to make it big in the boxing world, and he never was able to. And as at one point they sort of end up, Jackson ends up hugging the boy, and he was crying and looking up at the light in this basement room, or in this room in the apartment building. And all of a sudden, he finds himself laying back on the mat in the boxing arena. And he loses the fight. And he comes to, and he is battered and beaten up. And apparently, neither of them, Jackson or Henry, have any memory. And I was wondering about this because it seemed weird. They don't have any memory of this previous sort of alternate outcome or alternate timeline, because since they didn't believe, Jackson didn't believe in this other outcome, it didn't happen. Henry remembers making the biggest wish he possibly could, but it didn't work. And since it didn't work, he decides that he can't believe in magic anymore because it doesn't work. And so And Jackson sort of agrees, and but then it says at the very end, or maybe there is, and maybe there's just and there's wishes as well. But the problem is, and I'm paraphrasing here, the problem is there's not enough people around to believe who do believe in that, and that's where the episode ends, and he's basically done with his career. So it's really amazing to consider the sort of possibilities there with the what seems to be an alternate reality that was somehow created and then destroyed by the belief in, and then the switch from believing to not believing in magic and wishes that somehow creates and then destroys this other reality. So, and it's really amazing. And if you think about it, there's been reports of magic and wishes working out throughout time, even till today, where when things do work out and people have been sending good energy or good vibrations or praying for things to happen a certain way for other people, they work out. But then other cases, of course, unfortunately, doesn't matter what people do, it doesn't work. And so I guess the question with this show and then those kind of scenarios is there some kind of connection between maybe the subconscious not believing, even while the conscious is sort of hoping for these things to happen the way they want them to happen? I have no idea. I do always wonder about the whole idea of manifestation, whether it's of outcomes for people in their lives or whether it comes to even the manifestation of thought forms and beings and the things that people report seeing all the time. And yet, not everyone sees all these things. Even when they maybe hear about them, they don't suddenly appear in front of them. So I think I've always thought that there must be a lot of variables, and just it's obviously not as easy for most people anyway, in most circumstances, for things to happen just the way we want because we want them to. But in some cases, it does go that way. And that's sort of the paranormal connection, I guess, that I make between this episode and sort of what I've heard and read and heard people talk about over the years in the real world, so to speak. So it was a good episode, and I thought that was really, it was done well, so that it wasn't just your usual happy ending of a story, which I kind of like that because I feel like it's a little bit more realistic, even for a fictional universe, even for a sort of a fantasy kind of a sci-fi show. When there is more of a nuanced ending, a complicated ending for an episode or a story than just a happily ever after. Excuse me. So, I think that takes care of that episode of that show. And with that, I can move on to the next one here. So let me close that tab. And we can move on to episode 28. And and of course, this is episode 28 of season 1 of the Twilight Zone. So this this show is about a man, Henry Francis Rocky, in quotation marks, Valentine. So Rocky is what he's called in general. He is caught. He is chased by police after he robs a pawn shop. And as he's trying to escape the police, he is shot by the police as he's trying to climb up a wall and leave, escape. And he wakes up to find that he's somehow unharmed by what happened here. And he doesn't have much of a memory to start with anyway of what happened. And there's an older man in a white suit standing nearby, and who talks to him. And his name is Pip, P-I-P. And Pip explains that he has been instructed to guide Rocky and give him Rocky whatever he desires. So, but Rocky doesn't believe this, thinking there has to be a catch, and he keeps on asking Pip about this because he thinks that Pip is just out to sort of swindle him somehow. But as he's talking with this person that is nearby, Pip appears to have detailed information on Rocky's tastes and hobbies, his preferences, and what he likes to do, and things like that. So Rocky demands that Pip hand over his money or his wallet, and of course Pip says that he doesn't have a wallet, but he does magically somehow come up with $700 directly from his pocket. Now, keep in mind, this is a show from the late 50s, early 60s. So this is a good amount of money at that point, from what I've heard. So, and says that he can give Rocky as much money as Rocky wants. So Rocky is still trying to figure out what is going on and why Pip is being so nice to him. And at first, Rocky figures it must be some kind of a job. Figures that Pip must be wanting to get Rocky to do some kind of another criminal heist or job of some kind. And Rocky takes out his gun and holds him at gunpoint as the two go to an apartment that Pip says belongs to Rocky at this point. So, and the apartment and everything in it are free for Rocky, and Rocky starts to relax a little bit, and of course finds that there's a whole room closet of fancy clothes that just happen to fit him just right. And after he does this, he notices that there's a meal that has somehow appeared in this room as he was thinking about being hungry, and which makes him again suspicious. This whole show is really alternates between Rocky getting everything he wants, but also wondering why this is happening. And so he demands that Pip taste it first to prove that it's not poisoned. And but Pip doesn't want to do this and claims that he's forgotten how to eat after not doing so for centuries. So here you have, even though I'm sure there's visual cues and just in the way that Pip is talking and acts and everything, there's already cues that he's not a regular person. Now you have sort of a confirmation of this. And Rocky, of course, doesn't believe him and doesn't know what's going on. So he decides to shoot Pip. And since Pip won't tell him what's going on, and finds that the bullets have no effect, and Pip basically is not hurt at all. Whereas he figures out through some help from Pip that he is the one that has passed on. And he decides that, well, since he's passed on, he must be in heaven, and Pip is his guardian angel. And so Pip says that Rocky can have anything he wants, and Rocky asks for $1 million and a beautiful woman, and quickly has both of these requests granted. So he visits a casino with three women, and every time he makes a bet, wherever he's at, he wins. He never loses, and more beautiful women start gathering around him. So, and they come outside of the casino after he's all done with that, and a policeman walks by, and of course Rocky is not crazy about the policeman. So, anyway, there's other details here, but we're starting to run low on time here. This policeman walks by, and Pip, after realizing Rocky doesn't like this policeman, asks what Rocky would like to have happen, and basically makes the policeman shrink so that Rocky can sort of just rough him up a little bit, mess with him, and send him on his way. So he's all this time, Rocky is trying to figure out what's going on and wants to visit his old friends that have passed on. But Pip says that's not possible because this world that they're in is made only for Rocky. And except for the two of them, no one in this world is real. And so Rocky, at this point, is trying to figure out what good deeds he could have done to be allowed into heaven. And so they go to a hall of records, and it's basically just this massive staircase that leads to a platform in a building with filing cabinets. And Pip gives him his file, Rocky his file, and Rocky looks through the file and, of course, finds nothing but bad things that he's done. And he decides not to worry about it. So the show ends with Rocky realizing he's not having any fun, no matter what he does, no matter what he gets, what he has in this world that he's in. He's not enjoying anything. And so he realizes he's bored. So, and he finally asks Pip, who vanishes but then comes back magically when Rocky wants him. He tells Pip that he thinks he belongs in the other place because he doesn't feel like he belongs in heaven. So, and of course, this is the very near the end of the episode. Pip finally comes clean and says, basically, heaven, whatever gave you, this is a quote actually, whatever gave you the idea, you were in heaven, Mr. Valentine. This is the other place. And that's where the episode basically ends, with Pip laughing, and Rocky is horrified. And of course, Rocky tries to escape this apartment and this world, and can't do it, can't get out. So that's where that episode ends. So it was really well done, and it's I don't think I need to go into the implications of the things in that episode. Pretty straightforward, but they were sort of straightforward but very well done in their own way, of course, with all these episodes of this TV series. And just makes me wonder about sort of our ideas of what the afterlife would be like, and how accurate they are, and how it might appear one thing to be one thing when it's another in some cases. So anyway, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsidoparanormal. Take care.